What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. Hope you guys have all had a great Tuesday. Hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 startup mock draft for the 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. Tonight we will be hopping into a 12-team full PPR Superflex tight end premium play 3 wide receiver mock, and tonight's draft will include third round reversal as we are preparing for one of our 2 upcoming Dynasty leagues for the year. This specific league will be drafting on Sunday, and this league does have a third round reversal draft. So super excited to be here with you guys tonight. Super excited to throw together another mock draft with you guys, and super excited to talk some fantasy football. So you guys know what to do. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that like button on the way in, as well as hit that subscribe button. All we do here is free fantasy football content all year round, Dynasty, redraft, and best ball. So if you guys are into that, like I said, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And if you guys are not new to the channel, hit that like button for me. But most importantly, let's get it going. Let's get it popping. Hop in the live chat. Let me know how you guys are doing. Let's talk some fantasy football. Any fantasy football topics you guys want to go over, any NFL topics, get it going in the live chat. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to talk some fantasy football. So I told you guys I could start a couple minutes early. Looks like most everyone is here. You guys let me know in the chat what you want to do. If you want me to go ahead and start, or if you guys want me to wait. I think I've seen everyone in here. So I know here. Let me tag Cats. Other than that, I think I've seen everyone in like the last minute come through. So, or at least either in Sleeper or on Discord somewhere, I've seen you guys active. So you guys let me know in the chat on YouTube what you want me to do. If I don't see everyone, then we'll wait till 11 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Let's have some fun. Let's get right into it. So Godfather in the house, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Hello, hello. Taylor, what's going on? Kyle, what's going on? Good to see everybody in the house. Michael, Chase, how's everyone doing tonight? Let me know what you guys are up to. Talks, how we doing? Hello, hello. Thank you guys for kind of helping out here. If you guys were not, or if you guys are not in the second league, thank you guys for joining tonight's mock and helping the second league practice. So I know we did a separate Dynasty mock earlier in the day as well. Just really, truly thank you guys for continuing to help out each other and help everyone get some practice, including Steven, who requested that mock earlier. All right, I'm just going to start at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Right on the dot, just to give everyone a fair shot. But I think everyone's been notified at this point. So unless I see all green dots across the board, let's just plan on 11 p.m. Eastern time as originally planned on. All right. So Taylor brings up Dalvin to the Jets or Cowboys possibly, and says, shake my head. Yeah. So I saw that earlier. One of you guys posted that on Discord. No, it was you, Taylor. Yeah, I mean, it's a report. Always want to take it with a grain of salt. But apparently the Jets and the Cowboys are interested in Dalvin Cook. So, like, from a fantasy perspective, I think that's very bad for the Jets. Because you already have, I mean, like, listen, like, we all like Breece Hall here, right? On top of that, you still have Michael Carter as a good late-round handcuff option. They went out and they drafted Izzy, and you still was Zonovan Knight there. So definitely from a dynasty perspective, like, that does not help out whatsoever. In terms of the Cowboys, I mean, there are a lot of people out there bullish on Tony Pollard coming into this or going into this coming season, and there are a lot of people who have already drafted Deuce Vaughn as a potential player who could get some touches down the road from a dynasty perspective. So I don't think it's good from a fantasy perspective, but we already kind of knew with Dalvin Cook floating out there, Ezekiel Elliott floating out there, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, potentially Joe Mixon. Like, there are a lot of veteran running backs out there who could just go to a team and ruin their fantasy outlook at the end of the day. So we already kind of knew that this was something that could potentially happen. So I don't love those 2 landing spots for Dalvin Cook, but if you really look across the league, like, there aren't really any backfields Dalvin Cook could go to, and it would not impact things from a fantasy perspective. So it just kind of is what it is, and we'll have to kind of sit back and see what happens. But I mean, we talked about him potentially going to the Dolphins last night, and like that's another landing spot where that gets really confusing with the re-signing of both Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, and the drafting of Devon Achane. Like, from a fantasy perspective, especially Dynasty, a lot of Devon Achane owners out there, it just makes things a little bit murky. So I think really regardless of where Dalvin Cook lands, it's probably not going to be good from a fantasy perspective. And I don't even know like how much stock you want to put into Dalvin Cook alone, depending on where he lands. But from a redraft perspective, he'll probably be just fine. So, all right, guys, less than 1 minute, and then we will get this thing kicked off. Talk says, I'm really hoping Dalvin lands on a team before League One drafts. Make my life so much easier. Yeah, definitely make everyone's life a little bit easier in terms of valuation, right? Talk says Achane is the big one for me. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like we could literally draft a team, and within 24 hours, a veteran could go to a respective team out there, and kind of ruin the fantasy outlook immediately. All right, draft is underway, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and send out one last notification, and then I'll stop bugging you guys on Discord. All right, it looks like we have all green dots anyway, but there's one last shout on Discord. All right, I did start a little bit later than I wanted to tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know now. Instead of doing team reviews on the stream at the end of the stream, we'll just go ahead and we'll do community reviews on Discord after the stream through tomorrow. So just so you guys know ahead of time, but I'll remind you guys towards the end of the draft as well. All right, let's do it. And don't forget, guys, 3rd round reversal. So make sure you guys are planning accordingly. And let me just make sure I have all the other settings correct. Looks like everything else is good to go. And 8 bench spots for the purpose of tonight's mock as well. Albert, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Hello. How we doing tonight? Chase, I need Lenny to get to team. Got him in Dynasty. Yeah. I think Leonard Fournette and Kareem Hunt will probably take a little bit longer than Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott to land on a team. But I don't know. It also feels like Zeke is kind of sitting back, and teams are kind of sitting back on a lot of those veterans. So, like, we're just kind of assuming that Joe Mixon's going to go to a different team, but we've touched on this before. Like, there's still plenty of reason that Joe Mixon stays with the Bengals. So there's also some people out there who believe that Ezekiel Elliott could re-sign with the Dallas Cowboys. So it doesn't surprise me, really, that the Cowboys are in the mix potentially to get Dalvin Cook. But it does surprise me that the Jets are in the mix like that. I don't know. I just think that they're set at running back. But I don't know. Maybe Aaron Rodgers wants them to go out and get him. So I don't know. It would add an interesting dynamic to that backfield, and I guess depth never hurts. But I mean, Carter and Breece Hall were both hurt at times last year. So I don't know. But I don't know. I just think they went out and they drafted Izzy. Like, they have a lot of different skill sets between Carter, Hall, Izzy, and Zonovan Knight. So, I don't know. But, like I said, it's a report. It's the off season. It definitely gives us something to talk about. But you always want to take it with a grain of salt as well. So, all right. So, I'm going to try and run some active polls throughout tonight's stream like we did last night, kind of as we go through each round, kind of keep you guys engaged and kind of keep some different conversation going for the night. So I'm going to just kind of go and after players of the same position are drafted, we'll kind of run a poll to see where you guys are at going into the season. From a Dynasty perspective, that is. All right. So first poll tonight, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown versus A.J. Brown. Who you guys drafting? And then go ahead and let me know in the chat why you're drafting that respective player. It's like so hard to not go wide receiver right here. But knowing that's third round reversal, it's also difficult to not go quarterback. But I'm going to take Devonta Smith off the board. I'm going to go receiver tonight and see what happens. All right, so a couple votes in. And I assumed you guys would be leaning Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sorry, I just looked at the poll and I forgot the raw. I just put Amon St. Brown. So go ahead and laugh at me. But yeah, I figured you guys would be leaning towards Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I am as well. But I think we're all still fans of A.J. Brown. Thomas is afraid of A.J. Brown's possible injuries. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But Amon-Ra St. Brown was banged up at times last year as well, even though he played in 16 games. He missed week 4. Then he kind of had the questionable tag kind of around the mid part of the season as well. And A.J. Brown's injuries, I mean, A.J., that was kind of like one of the fears of drafting A.J. Brown going into last year. And obviously he was fully healthy last year. So, but did miss a couple games 2021 and a couple games in 2020 as well. But A.J. Brown also a player before his time with the Eagles where he had a lot of questionable tags. And that definitely holds like some weight against fantasy managers. Just with the player literally having a questionable tag going into several weeks. Taylor says injuries, smindries. All right, so moving into the third round with the reversal, we've got both teams at the 1.11, 1.12 at the end of the first with one quarterback off the board. It's just scary, man. Third round reversal is scary. J-Dub starting the night with 3 wide receivers. All right, let's get another poll going. All right, so Amon-Ra, I'll leave it up for... No, that poll's just about over. All right, so he wins kind of by a landslide, 67% to 33%. All right, let me make this next draft selection. I go JSN here. It's close for me there. All right. So let's see here. You guys drafting. Here's an interesting one. Tua or Dak? Tua or Dak, and let me know in the chat why. Taylor says Penny with the Dak Dak snipe. So you pivot to Tyreek Hill. I'm not against it at all. Thomas, I got to choose between Brown and Waddle in a trade last year and chose Brown. Yeah, I mean, definitely close. Like, I think off the top of my head, but I mean, I can just go ahead and check. A.J. Brown was wide receiver 6. Amon-Ra was wide receiver 7. I was going to say, I think they were literally right next to each other in terms of finished rankings last year. So it's crazy. So many mocks we've done, we just continue to see JSN and DK Metcalf taken off the board back to back. And it's hard to really choose between those two guys. Couple different directions. A lot of different directions I feel like I want to go right here. But I'm going to go Danny Dimes here. I mean, for obvious reasons. It's just tough for me to pass up on a second quarterback. But, man, there are some really good players available right now. All right, so Dak is winning the poll at 71% compared to 29%. So, I mean, when we look at the two players, right, you've got Prescott at age 29 going into his 8th season, excuse me. I mean, outside, he's been missed significant amount of time. 2 out of the last 4 seasons, right? So, in the 2 seasons he has not missed a significant amount of time, he's finished as a top 8 fantasy quarterback. And it's not even really worth going over the rankings for the other 2 seasons, right? Last year, missed, 5 games, if I'm not mistaken? Yep. 5 games. And then in 2020, he only played in 5 total games. So, there's been some injury history with Prescott, obviously. But, you know exactly what you're going to get out of Dak Prescott on a week-to-week basis when you start him. And I still don't mind him whatsoever where he's being drafted. But he is a little bit older than it feels, right? I mean, age 29. He's going into his 8th season. Don't get me wrong, he's going to be the starter barring any injuries. There's not a lot to worry about. Like I said, you know exactly what you're getting, right? But I mean, he's older than Jared Goff. It goes at went at 4.10 tonight. Nonetheless, when we look at Tua, age 25, going into his 4th season, I think the reason, even though we just went over injuries over the last couple years to Dak Prescott, when you look at Tua, obviously the injury history is a lot more concerning, specifically the concussions. But has played in 13 games in the last 2 years, 10 games in his rookie season. Was your quarterback 15 last year, even after only playing in 13 games. So I do think if Tua can stay healthy with the firepower he has around him and the offense, the way it's ran, if Tua is able to stay healthy, I mean, I think he could be a dark horse candidate for a top 5 quarterback this year. But a lot of things would have to go right. And it has more to do with the weapons around him. Obviously Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, you look back at some of the games last year, there were times where that offense just looked ridiculous. So, we'll have to see. But obviously, Tua is the younger option. I feel like Tua versus Kyler may have been a more interesting conversation, just being that they're both kind of in strange places in terms of injuries overall. All right, I feel like the last 3 or 4 mocks I've done, I've gone hero running back with Austin Eckler as my RB1. So here we go again. Some pretty good running backs available right now, but I'll let you guys take a look. All right, Thomas is once again afraid because of Tua's potential injuries. That's fair. That's fair. All right, well, let's fire up another one as the 5th round wraps up here tonight. I feel like I know how this one's going to go, but we'll run it anyways. And half the time I say that, I'm wrong, so. Let's go Josh Jacobs or Najee Harris. Najee at 5.4 tonight. Josh Jacobs at 5.5. All right, let me go ahead and prepare for this next selection. 2 players on mine here. Yeah, I mean, there's some really good running backs available, but Brandon Ayuk is just becoming one of those guys that, I talked about him a lot this offseason, and from a dynasty perspective, just someone who's going to be really hard for me to pass up at the right value. I would be very happy with Devonta Smith, JSN, and Ayuk as my first 3 wide receivers off the board in a real draft. Got Eckler as my hero running back right now, 2 quarterbacks who I feel like are in stable positions. So I think a pretty decent start tonight. All right, so Najee atop the poll at 60%. Josh Jacobs at 40%. I actually thought it'd be going the other way. Oh, sorry, I got stuff on the screen. Sorry, guys. All right, so Najee Harris, right? age 25, going into his third season, was your running back 3 in his rookie season in full PPR, 1,200 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns on the ground, 74 receptions, 94 targets, 467 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. So the targets and the receptions in his rookie season and what he was able to do with those made a massive difference in his overall fantasy totals at the end of the year. So it's kind of crazy because so many people got so down on Najee Harris last year, throughout the year, but he was very consistent last year, right? And on top of that, there's still kind of a negative stigma around drafting Najee Harris. I mean, probably more from a redraft perspective than a dynasty perspective, don't get me wrong. But when you really break down the numbers last year compared to his rookie season, while he did have 162 less rushing yards, that's really, outside of the receptions, that's really the only difference. He had the same amount of rushing touchdowns last year as he had in his rookie season. He had the same amount of receiving touchdowns last year as he had in his rookie season. So, less targets, for sure. About 40 less targets. Less receiving yards because he had less targets. But he had 6.31 yards per catch in 2021, 5.59 yards per catch in 2022. Not that bad of a drop-off. I mean, it's still a drop-off, don't get me wrong, but it's not awful. So really, I think when you break down Najee Harris, you're going from Ben Roethlisberger in his final season to a rookie in Kenny Pickett. I think as things get going this year, I really do think that Najee is going to be just fine. When you break down the end of last year, really got on a consistent pace. I mean, really, you can look at the whole year. Week 4, 7.4 points. Week 5, 6.6 points. Week 10, just under 10 points at 9.9 points, okay? Every other week of the year in full PPR, he gave you double-digit fantasy points, okay? Wasn't a crazy high ceiling, but the consistency was there, for sure. And it got better towards the end of the year. I mean, you look through the fantasy playoffs, if we're looking at weeks 15 through 17, I know the end of last year was crazy. 14.6 points in week 15, 15.5 in week 16, 20 in week 17. So, you guys can't tell. I'm not out on Najee Harris whatsoever. But we look at Josh Jacobs. Age 25, going into his 5th season. At the moment is playing on the franchise tag. That could potentially change. Might not change. If I'm Josh Jacobs, I might want to just play on the franchise tag. And I don't know. Obviously, the risk of injury changes everything. But if I'm Josh Jacobs, maybe I want to think about playing for a different football team. Because the Raiders are in a very odd spot. But nonetheless, last year, obviously, an incredible year. Hold on, let me draft some players. I was not prepared for this draft pick at all. Let's go Rashad White. But yeah, obviously last year, an incredible year for Josh Jacobs, who I talked about a lot last offseason. Was your RB3 in full PPR, your RB1 in standard scoring formats. RB11, 2021, RB8, 2020, RB21 in his rookie season. He has had 1,000 yards from scrimmage every single year. Last year, obviously a monster year, though. 1,600 yards on the ground, 12 touchdowns, 53 receptions for 400 receiving yards. So, most rushing yards of his career, most rushing attempts of his career, most rushing touchdowns, highest yards per carry of his career, tied for the most targets of his career, second most receptions of his career, most receiving yards of his career, and obviously just absolutely lit it up from a fantasy perspective. So you have to expect some regression from Josh Jacobs going into this year, and I think the Other important thing to look at from last year was he was fully healthy. I know towards the end of the year he was a little bit banged up, but he played through it. Did not miss a game last year, where he has, previously had some injury concerns. 15 played games in 2021, 15 in 2020, 13 in 2019. But obviously, the Raiders were trying to get the most out of Josh Jacobs if he was not going to be on the team the following year. But Jacobs is kind of in a different position where he's a little bit older. He's coming off a great year. Najee's younger, coming off of a down year compared to his rookie season. So I think the value lies long-term in Najee Harris. Okay, I don't know why I've been doing this lately, but I've kind of been going like a little bit heavier at the running back position just to see what happens. So let's take a third running back off the board. Give me Pacheco. It's close there. You got some interesting selections. DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, for example, Aaron Jones. But I'm going to roll with my guy Pacheco because I feel pretty good about having Eckler and White in front of him. And now I will take a little bit of a breather at the running back position. All right, let's see. All right, Najee got 2 years left on his rookie contract, was dealing with an injury last year. Don't trust Jacobs to replicate the Cinderella story of last year. It's fair enough. And remember, we're kind of talking from a dynasty perspective here, but it's... And also, we're going slightly based off the fact that they got selected back-to-back off the board tonight. Kat says Steelers made some improvements to the offensive line as well. It's a good point. And Talk says, I don't get the Jacobs-Najee debate. Fair enough. And keep in mind, like I said, it's sparked because of the board tonight. Jacobs was top 2 to 3 running back in fantasy last year, 100%. He's 1 month older than Najee. Yeah. That is a good point. They are literally, like the same exact age, which is crazy because, Jacob's is much further in his career, obviously, but you would expect Najee to be a little bit younger. So that's a good point, Tox. It's a good point. The bigger question is, what does Josh Jacobs' future look like? What team is he playing on after this coming year? I like to see Jacobs in a situation where he is not with the Raiders. I like both these guys a lot. Okay, 2 guys I've talked about for quite some time now. And you guys know me. I'm just trying to make the debate for either side. Okie doke. Let's end that poll. Najee Harris wins 67% to 33%. All right, let's do a really ugly one. I don't know how to spell either of these quarterbacks' first names, but Russell Wilson or Derek Carr. I actually want to know. Okay, I got Russ right. 2 S's, 2 L's. Derek, I butchered. Oh my gosh. Derek Carr, if you see this, I'm sorry. Oh, it's not even close. It's not. No one paid attention to that. It's literally, it's not even close. Okay, this is a really ugly one. Let me make this next draft selection, then we'll kind of dive into this a little bit more. Another draft where I feel like I'm forced to draft Mac Jones. Okay, Brock Purdy is like my ideal quarterback 3 right now if I'm building a roster for Dynasty Squad. You just can't wait on Brock Purdy anymore. I think there are enough fantasy managers who like Purdy as a QB2 or 3 enough that they're going to select him against his ADP before guys. Like you look at the board tonight, Purdy goes at 8.12, Russ goes at 9.2, Carr goes at 9.4, Howell's at 9.5, Rodgers at 9.7. So, and the Mac and Cheese, this is like the third draft in a row where I've drafted Mac Jones as my QB3, which I'm not totally upset about, but I just think if you want Purdy, you need to keep a close eye on him. He's probably going against his ADP at the moment unless that is adjusted. Okay, Carr and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going into his 12th season. Carr is going into his 10th. Russ is 34. Carr is 32. It's just stupid. It's just ugly. Okay, wait. Let me make this this pick. Okay, I want a receiver here, and I feel like Tyler Lockett's the best available receiver. And now I have JSN and Tyler Lockett, which I don't particularly like. Unless it's like Waddle and Hill or Smith and Brown. But you know what? I'm not too down on that. I think I can live with that. Okay. And keep in mind, like when we're talking Wilson versus Carr, who, went off the board very close to each other tonight, 9.2, 9.4. This is obviously not as your QB1 in the Dynasty format. But Dangerous has finished as your QB16 back-to-back seasons, last year and the year before. Carr was your QB17 last year, your QB13 in 2021. So Russell Wilson gets a new head coach in Sean Payton. There are a lot of people out there who believe that Russ is a good value in Superflex formats because Sean Payton is theoretically going to elevate that offense enough. On the other hand, Derek Carr goes to Sean Payton's former team, the New Orleans Saints, and has a pretty good supporting cast around him. Has been pretty mediocre overall. A QB 17 or better since 2019, but the better marks are QB 14 2020, QB 13 2021. This is not the most competitive division, but it's also one of those weird divisions, like especially within divisional matchups. Like the Panthers seem to play good defense against the Saints, for example. And the Buccaneers don't have the worst defense on paper, but they're a little bit more suited against the run. And then you got the Falcons, who I think actually could be semi-competitive defensively as well, and have when healthy, a decent secondary, right? So I don't know. I do think, obviously, I said Carr has a good supporting cast. So does Russell Wilson. But Wilson, whether it was Russell Wilson's fault, the Broncos' fault as an entire team, or Nathaniel Hackett's fault, did not make the most out of his supporting cast last year. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting from a super. You look at Taylor's team tonight. Russell Wilson's his QB2. Gyro's in a good position where he does not need to rely on Carr, but you could certainly see plenty of teams start or come out of a startup, I should say, with Carr or Russell Wilson as a quarterback too, potentially. But hopefully you're leaning towards that QB3 spot. So the polls kind of close right now. Derek Carr at 56%, Russell Wilson at 44%. All right, let's see. Tox is hopefully neither. That's fair enough. Thomas says, from a Seahawks fan, I'm good on Russ. Fair enough. Russ is Sean Payton now, and Carr is younger, so it's close. But generally, I'm not too excited about what either will be doing for fantasy. Completely fair. Taylor, I voted Russ because that's who I picked, but it was down to the wire. Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like if both are on the board, you're not really thinking about Russell Wilson or Derek Carr. You're thinking about, do I like the Broncos offensive setup more or the Saints offensive setup more? And I might actually lean the Broncos personally. Let me make this pick here. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm going to go receiver. I'm thinking about going running back. Just give me Juju because I have Mac Jones on this team. Let's do it that way. But I was really close to going running back there as well. I think Marvin Mims and Jalen Hyatt are really good picks. But with me having JSN and 2 young receivers at the top of the board, I felt like just going out and potentially getting some consistency. But I really like Hyatt. I really like Mims as well. I like the upside involved with Hyatt, and I have Daniel Jones on this team, so I wouldn't mind potentially getting that pair down the stretch. But I'm going to be boring and go Juju Smith-Schuster there. I also like Jaden Reed, who's available right now. I just like that tier of rookie receivers. But also, as much as I believe in JSN, I think everyone believes in JSN, I still want to kind of balance that out a little bit. Man, this is a tough pick right here. It's a tough pick because there are a couple players that I really like. And 1 or 2 players that I'm surprised actually kind of fell out here. But I'm going to go Sky Moore because he's still linked to Patrick Mahomes, and he's super young. And I do think he can certainly improve upon what he did in that offense last year, which was not much at all. But yeah, when we're looking at between the Broncos and the Saints offense, it is close for me, don't get me wrong. But what I worry about with the Saints is I don't know if Michael Thomas is going to play more than like 3 games. And I don't know if Alvin Kamara is going to get suspended. So those 2 things worry me. Because that is a lot of upside gone from that offense. As much as I like Jamal Williams, as much as I like Kendre Miller, and as much as I like Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, as well as Jawan Johnson. Look at the Broncos, on the other hand, you don't have an incredibly injury-prone wide receiver on that squad who changes the offense if he's healthy, and you don't have a starting running back facing suspension, but you do have some other issues because it's not like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy have not had their own shares of injuries. I mean, like both those guys were injured at points last season, right? So, and then you look at the running back position, even if no one's facing a suspension, we still have Javonte Williams coming off a major injury, and then Samaje Perine's the next man up. And I like Greg Dulcich a lot, and I think from a dynasty perspective, I don't mind him being drafted where he's drafted, but Jawan Johnson is played great last year too, so you could argue, for immediate value, he's in a better spot. So I don't know. I could go really back and forth. It's certainly close between those 2 offenses, though. That was one of those things where I felt like I was down with the Broncos, and the more I talked about it, I was like, you know what? It's actually very close. So. All right, Carr wins the poll. I'm glad we went over that tonight, guys. Taylor, I'm just gonna pretend Mixon and Kamara both avoid suspensions. Hey, man, you gotta play some hypotheticals at this point in the offseason when we're drafting. Chase says Sadigo Johnson over Chase Brown at 12.3. Hopefully he is there when I come back, but doubt it. He is gone at the 13.2. Guys, if you're drafting with Chase Brown, it is a league rule. You cannot draft Chase Brown. I don't have CPU auto picks on, so unless I see an issue, you guys have like 2 extra seconds to draft. Okay, sorry guys, just in deep thought over here. as I come up on this selection. I guess I'll just go Dalton Schultz because I don't have a tight end. But I really don't feel good about the fact that he is playing for the Houston Texans. I just really don't. But we'll survive, hopefully. Okay. 13th round wrapping up here. Mike, I like this team for some reason. You got a little light at running back, or excuse me, a quarterback. And running back, actually, now. Oh, you're just super loaded up at wide receiver. Hey, man. You do you, bro. Talks, I love how often B-Rob and Gibson go back-to-back. Yeah. All right, well, let's do that for a fun poll. Let me make this pick. I'll go Trey McBride here. Go back-to-back tight ends. Brian Robinson or Gibby. I mean, back-to-back tonight. Gibson at the 12, or Brian Robinson at the 12.7, Gibson at the 12.8. I kind of like Gibson. I think he's gonna be utilized more under their new offense. They are the same age. Gibson's 24 going into his 4th season. Brian Robinson is 24 going into his 2nd season. I didn't know that. I thought Robinson would be younger. I like Schultz. They have no weapons, no 1st and 3rd next year. They'll probably re-sign him. Not like they can give Stroud less options next year. Not like they'll be hard up for cap space. That's fair. That's fair. It's not that I necessarily am not confident in the situation he's in, like contract-wise or anything like that. It's just the fact that I don't have all the faith in the world in the Texans offense. But a tight end always be a good thing for a young rookie quarterback. So could be a good thing. I like compared with a player like Trey McBride, so like I'm not too upset with that. And I feel like looking at ADP, Schultz at 13.9 is pretty good value. I mean, still pretty young, age 26, going into his 6th season, so I can live with that. All right, I need to take a look at my team, figure out what I need. Okay, a little bit of running back and receiver depth, and should be able to wrap this thing up for the night. Talks, if I made a big board of every fantasy player and had to put them in order, I'd probably have B-Rob 1 spot ahead of Gibby. Taylor says, Gibson's a better running back. It's not even close. Talks, I think B-Rob's a better runner, but as far as talent, Gibby is better, and he has a receiving ability for sure. I don't think either will be consistent this year, though. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. The poll is sitting with Brian Robinson at 57%, Gibson at 43%. And I am on the clock. Tough picks. I just still, like, I really like Izzy for so many reasons. But I just have a tough time drafting him with all of the other running backs in front of him. Like, I mean, he could easily carve out a role within that offense. Well, I don't even know if I want to say easily. I feel like Dwayne McBride is in a better position than Izzy at the moment. to potentially get snaps. I just, it's hard for me to select him there. So give me McBride. The poll's 50-50 split. Robinson or Gibson? Okay, then I'm going running back with this next pick. I think I just need a piece that can contribute right away. Let's go Zeke. It's not pretty, but let's do it. I mean, that puts us with Eckler, Rashad White, Pacheco, Dwayne McBride, and Ezekiel Elliott. So, still a lot of running backs on the board that I like. But for purposes of tonight's mock, we've only got 2 more selections. But I think I might be able to wrap this thing up okay. Even with taking Zeke, which just doesn't feel great. But we've got 6 wide receivers, 5 running backs, 2 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks. Pretty even build so far. And we'll see if I can wrap it up okay. All right, Gibson wins the poll 56% to 44%. I didn't really give too much feedback into that one. Michael, love the running backs I got late just for production alone, nothing too flashy. Yeah, I mean, Damian Harris, Donta Foreman will probably give you immediate value, but could also get burnt out of those offenses very quickly. And hopefully the Bills start to run the football more, but I'm not quite sure that they're going to. But I do think that Damian Harris is a very sneaky value towards the end of drafts right now. You know, it's kind of crazy. Harris has actually had a lot more injury history than you guys might think. I mean, played 11 games last year, 15 the year before that, 10 the year before that, and 2 in his rookie season, but that was because he was rookie, not because of his injury. So, and you know what? 2020 may have been. No, I feel like he was hurt in 2020 as well. But nonetheless, I do think Damian Harris, a good late round value. If you're in a position where you need players to contribute in a startup mock, I think he's perfectly fine to take. But yeah, I mean, guys like Harris and Foreman, you're playing the short-term game there for sure. But I do agree, good values. All right, let me see if I can cook up a good end-of-stream poll here. This is a lot of weird players going off the board. Tight end Premium League. So let's look at 2 tight ends gone in the 17th round. Jawan Johnson or Noah Fant? Who are you guys drafting? I think that's an interesting question. All right, I think I'm going to go wide receiver here. I'm going to go Terrace Marshall, but there are a lot of names I like right here. I like Zay Jones a lot. You guys know that. I think Shakir is a good pick. But hopefully I can grab a receiver like Marshall who's going to develop into a consistent target for Bryce Young. I mean, I like Zay Jones a lot, but Calvin Ridley is headed to that offense this year. It's close. It's close. I do have kind of an interesting receiver group. Devonta Smith, JSN, Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, Juju, Sky Moore, Terrace Marshall. I like that group, actually. But you have to kind of look at things like JSN takes, I don't know, a little bit of time to get going. Probably won't, but could happen. If Juju is just a complete disappointment with the Patriots, if Sky Moore is just what he was last year, and if Terrace Marshall is also what he's been since he entered the league, although he had some flashes last year, don't get me wrong, then could be in a really bad spot. So I'm going to go running back with this last selection, and that'll wrap it up for me tonight. I actually like this team, but it's kind of a blend of win now, compete down the road, which I don't mind. I'm going to have Evan Hull as my last running back to kind of, between Eckler and Zeke being on this team, Rashad White and Pacheco, that gives me Dwayne McBride and Evan Hull as 2 rookies. So, yeah, I think we wrapped up okay tonight. I was hoping Isaiah Hodgins would be there at 17.9. Obviously under contract with the Giants, age 24, going in his 4th season, time to Daniel Jones. Then I would have, not that stacks really matter to me in Dynasty or redraft, but it is kind of nice over the long term potentially. And Daniel Jones on this team, Mac Jones on this team. So I have Jones with Juju. That's why I say that. But I guess I don't have a stack with Burrow, so oh well. Drew Brees off the board. Let's go, Tox. J-Dubs has actually loved my team after the risky start. What was your risky start? Oh, 3 wide receivers in a row. Still got Goff, Pickett, and Love. Okay. David, how do you feel about having London and Pitts on a rebuilding Dynasty team? I would hold them. It's not a great time to really sell Kyle Pitts, in my opinion. And I would not move on whatsoever from London. So if you're rebuilding, I think it's okay. It depends on the value you can get back for them, of course. But I think they're both young enough you can hold on to them. Carter, I like Jawan with the addition of Carr and his heavy use of Waller. That's a good point. I like the chances of him utilizing Jawan with only Olave and aging, injury-prone, absent of Michael Thomas. Oh, Bulls 50-50. I'd probably go Jawan Johnson as well. It was very close, actually, for me. I think they're both great values right now, though. I think they're both really good values. Okay, guys. Go ahead and post your teams on Discord. We'll do some community review over on Discord. And that'll kind of wrap it up for the night. So thank you guys for being here tonight. And I just apologize once again. I got started a little bit later than I wanted to. So we'll go over teams on Discord and get some community reviews going. And I do apologize. We'll get some team reviews on stream going sooner rather than later. But for tonight, get them posted on Discord. I got to work in the morning, and I just got started a little bit later than I wanted to, so I apologize, guys. But thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you guys for drafting with me. Hopefully this was some good practice for those of you in our second Superflex Dynasty League of the year. Super excited. I just can't wait for these slow drafts to start. And so I don't know for sure, but I'm going to try and run at least one more stream/mock for each league before you guys. That's probably what I'm going to do. So league number 1 is drafting Friday. I'll probably run another mock for you guys Thursday. Wednesday is usually like an underdog night or redraft night, so we'll roll with that. Then Thursday I'll get League 1 some more practice, and then League number 2 is going to draft on Sunday, so we'll probably do another draft on Saturday, so you guys get one last practice in if you're interested in doing so. Although these drafts are going to look very different from these mocks because there's going to be a lot of trades. But that's okay. It's still good to do the mocks, get familiar with ADP, get a little bit more comfortable. So stay posted on Discord, guys. We'll get all our plans together. And we'll keep mocking throughout the week and just getting prepared for the 2023 fantasy football season. Super, super excited, guys. All right, thank you guys for everything that you guys do. And get your teams posted over on Discord, and we'll go from there. Be sure to hit the like button on the way out if you guys are new to the channel. Thank you for being here tonight. Make sure you guys join our free Discord. Follow us on Instagram. Best places to get announcements for the channel, mock draft invites, and all that good stuff. So I had a blast with you guys tonight. Lots of good conversation. And I just appreciate you guys hanging out, talking some fantasy football and drafting with me. So love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. Talk to you guys tomorrow. If you guys need anything, let me know. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And